New this morning, fire caused extensive damage to a home in Maplewood. Several agencies helped respond to a house. This is on Dorland Road. Just after 1:45 this morning, our photojournalist saw extensive damage to the garage and a room upstairs. We are working to learn on whether or not anyone was hurt. No word yet on the cause.
Investigators say a Twin Cities home lacked a critical tool that could have saved two women's lives. Firefighters pulled Diana and Maya Davies from their burning house in New Brighton just yesterday morning. First responders tried to save them, but it was simply too late. You're looking at new pictures from inside the home. All of Davies' belongings are blackened, that coated ash. The city's fire marshal says they did not have working smoke detectors, and he warned simply testing your alarms, it is not enough.
The only thing that you're doing is testing the audibility of that. If that alarm is older than 10 years old, that sensor that is sensing the smoke is only listed to last for 10 years. Change your smoke alarms if they're over 10 years old.
Kip Lamont says you can check the date on your detector. If it does not have one, it means it's too old. Investigators think the fire started accidentally. At least 35 victims have died in fires across Minnesota this year. That is down a bit compared to this time last year.
Today, the man responsible for a teenager's fentanyl overdose death will be sentenced. Deshaun Smith of Red Wing was charged with the death of a 14-year-old after he supplied him with the fentanyl that killed him. Back in March, he pleaded guilty to second-degree manslaughter and second-degree drug sales. Now, we will be at the sentence scheduled for 1 o'clock this afternoon.
Minneapolis top cop says he thinks a deadly police shooting was justified. We first told you about this as breaking news yesterday. Calls about a man waving a gun, talking to himself, sent police to the Longfellow neighborhood Wednesday night. Officers say they chased that man along Hiawatha Avenue and told him to drop his weapon. Police radio calls suggest he pointed the gun at officers, and that's when they opened fire, killing him. This is the city's second deadly police encounter in less than 2 weeks. You'll remember late last month, officers killed a man who had shot and killed fellow officer Jamal Mitchell. Officer Mitchell will be buried in his hometown of Connecticut next week.
Bright orange cones line one of the busiest corridors in the city of Minneapolis, and the small businesses in Uptown are paying the price. So the reconstruction of Hennepin Avenue grinds on Michaela Herod. She owns Le Sol. That's a boutique specializing in ethically sourced clothing. After overcoming COVID and an ever-changing retail industry, it was construction that buried her business.
It's just so hard for businesses to make any money, like in general, and let alone when you take access to them away.
So the plan is to finish this stretch of Hennepin before the end of the year and then move on to the next stretch next year.
It's been 3 years since Minneapolis implemented a 5-cent bag fee. So we're looking into some questions that we've been asked, like, does it actually reduce plastic waste? How about how much money has it generated? And where do the proceeds go? More than a dozen other states have made efforts to ban single-use bags. About 40% of what goes into landfills comes from packaging. And DFL Representative Sydney Jordan wants to change that. She introduced a bill this session to allow bag bans. She points to clogged sewer drains and recycling equipment, along with microplastics in our water supply as downstream efforts of buying groceries.
So that plastic is having a huge effect on our environment and our human health. Cities are asking for more tools to be able to deal with waste properly, and this is one of the tools that cities are asking for.
Thing is, it's hard to tell if the plastic fees are helping, as Minneapolis and Duluth don't track it. Now, Washington, D.C. has had a similar 5-cent fee since 2009, and within 6 months, it found 75% of people used fewer bags. Here, that money from the fee goes back to the store. It's 5:37, and we know Vegas has the Sphere, which you see here, but Minneapolis has the Square. That is the bold statement from a new event space set to open in the North Loop.
Okay, so we got a little sneak peek, though, at the location. We got it. Doesn't seem like much right now, but this is what it will look like when they fire up those projectors, essentially transporting you from an art museum to under the ocean to outer space. The mastermind behind the new space expects to host everything from unforgettable weddings to extravagant art shows.
We can transform the space based on what's happening in the event and take the audience from one world to the other, so they experience all of it at the same time.
The Boylston Square plans to open up in October. It's just about half a mile north of Target Field.